Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Autosleeper Executive. Now this particular one is quite a special one. It's actually the first ever built on the newer cab. So the Autosleeper Executive has been going for a long time, since probably 40 years ago, I would have imagined, about that sort of time. But Autosleeper was having their 50th anniversary as a company, and they started making this, which is the new version of the Autosleeper Executive. So the reason that they make it like this is because it's done in this standard monocoque body style, which this is kind of like the industry standard favorite kind of model of motorhome, and the way that it's modeled and stuff like that, because of the fact that they don't really very often leak. They're very good at keeping the water out, so hence why they've always been so popular. But anyway, long story short, they started making another range of these, and this was actually the first ever one built. There's actually a genuine, can't remember where it is at the moment, but there's an Autosleeper build number. It might be inside one of these doors. There you go. Autosleeper, and then this is the actual chassis plate for the vehicle, and then number 1. There's another one somewhere in the vehicle as well that actually says it a bit more clearly, but this was the very first one that came out of the factory. So quite a special vehicle, really. We don't often see stuff like this coming through, but anyway, what I'll do on the handover video is I'll start under the bonnet, walk my way all the way around the outside, and then I'll jump inside and show you what we've got going on in there as well. Because it's the first one that came out, I can imagine that they did do a few extra bits and pieces, which I will show you as well as we get there, but I'll start under the bonnet here first anyway. So, over on the left-hand side, we have got, on the top left, we've got your washer fluid in this reservoir here. We've then got your power steering fluid in the one just below that. Engine coolant is in this reservoir at the front. Brake fluid is in the reservoir at the top just here with the yellow cap. And your engine oil filling point is this one just down here. You also got your engine oil dipstick, which is this yellow topped one just down here at the front. You have got air conditioning on this particular model, so you've got the air conditioning pipes just here. That's these two here. Couple of bits to look at on here. So you've got your paint code just here. So Fiat 249 is your paint code, and that is the white colour that runs all the way through the vehicle. So this kind of creamy colour, that's not 249, so try not to mistake that. The original Peugeot chassis plate is this one just here, which is actually riveted on. Now that is not the one that you need to look at. If you ever get asked for your actual chassis plate and the weights of the vehicle and all that sort of stuff, it's this one in here that you need to look at, the one that actually says Autosleeper Stage 2. So it's still the same gross weight, so you can still drive on any car license, but I just want to make sure that you know that that is the one that you need to look at inside the door. You've got some air conditioning information just here, so the amount of grams of gas that needs to go in and stuff like that. Air filter sits inside this box just down here. And you've actually got, because you're on this newer style chassis, the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, just in front of the passenger seat. So if you need to jump start the vehicle, you've got a positive terminal just here underneath this little cover. So that's your positive terminal there. And then you've got a little ground terminal or a negative terminal just here at the front. And it does say there, only for jump start. So that's what this little prong here is for. So that's about it for under the bonnet, really. As I say, it's on the Peugeot Boxer. It's on a 2.2, so it's actually a chain-driven engine, so no cam belt to worry about on that one. So as for the extras that I was saying about, so you've got the full cab blinds in this one. So you've got really, I mean, it's not a cheap thing to have. So the cab blinds come all the way up like so. So you've got those just there. Make sure they're pushed all the way forwards again. Otherwise it will sort of pop out as you're driving. The bonnet release handle is this one just inside here. Okay. Not much else to show you inside here. You've got the factory fitted swivel seats here as well. So you've got the handle just here. You push that down and then you'll be able to swivel the seats all the way around. I'll show you into the cab on the other side, on the driver's side. You can see a little bit more over that side. Just behind the passenger door, we have got your diesel filling point, and you will need your ignition key to get that to unlock, but that is where you fill up your diesel. So I'll carry on around this near side, work my way all the way around the back and then into the cab, and then we'll get inside and show you the more exciting stuff. So the first locker we get to is your gas locker. Now you can see all in fitting with the fiberglass monocoque body, so it's all fitted properly and looks the same. You've got space in here for 2 propane 6 kilo bottles, so there's nothing to say that you can't switch over to butane if you wanted to, but I would never recommend butane really. Doesn't really work as well when it gets cold. But anyway, you're better off sticking to propane as well, because you've got the propane pigtail here. So if you were to switch to the blue butane bottles, you'd have to change this pigtail hose as well. But anyway, so all you need to know, to be honest, with the gas locker is that you've got a valve on the top of the bottle. So just trying to get so I can show you it. So the valve will go both ways. So you go anti-clockwise like this to turn the bottle on. And a good tip on this is to remember to turn it all the way on. The only reason for that is that when you come to turning it off, you'll only be able to go one way. So you'll know that you're definitely going the correct way. But anti-clockwise turns the bottle on. And as I say, you can go all the way until it won't go any further. And clockwise, all the way down, will turn the bottle off. So again, it's just a little tip really. If you want to turn it on, just go all the way on. If you're turning it off, make sure you go all the way off. On the regulator, you haven't got to do anything with this whatsoever. All of this stuff over here on the right is literally just for our testing purposes. You haven't got to do anything with that. And when you go to switch between the 2 bottles, if this one runs out and you've got to go onto the other one, you've got a gas spanner in here, which has been left by a previous owner. So literally all you need to do is undo this nut just here, pop the pigtail onto the new bottle, nip it up, and that's it, job done. So make sure that you turn the gas off before you start driving. That's really important. I will also point out, you've got just here to the right of this, just in case you're curious about this in the future, you've got a auto gas point. Now there isn't anything on the back of this. I can only imagine that in the past at some point somebody has had a refillable gas system in here. So you'll find this a lot of the time on the motorhomes where they'll have the point but no bottles. And the reason is that, to be honest, they're quite expensive to buy and people tend to take the bottles with them when they go to their new vehicles. So point is, if you wanted to fit a refillable gas system like a Gas-It or a Gas-Low system, you have already got the fitting here on the outside. So all you need to do is run the pipe and put the bottles in. So it's not a big job. So that is the gas system over here on this near side. As I said, you've got your 50th anniversary sticker just here. So 2011 was Autosleeper's 50th anniversary. It's not the 50th anniversary of the executive. It's just the anniversary of the whole company. So actually, I'm not 100% sure. You have to find out. I don't know off the top of my head, or at least I can't remember if they did any other models as like a newer version or not. But I'd like to find out. It'd be nice to know. But yeah, so 50th anniversary there. Something really important to mention straight away on the habitation door. So again, this is another typical classic Autosleeper habitation door here. When you want to use the hab door lock, okay, it's unbelievably simple, but you do need to try and remember it. So when you close the door here, you need to pull this little tab towards you, and you see the door will sort of sit in there a little bit better. So once you've done that, that means that the door is now locked in position. So to release it again, you have to pull the lever towards you again and then pull the door. If you just yank on the door when you haven't lifted this thing back, you will break that off. And trust me, that's something that I end up fixing a lot because people do tend to forget, but just bear that in mind. Behind the door here, we've got the 2 vents just here. They're both to do with your fridge. So if you ever needed access to the back of the fridge, you can do that from there. Not that you should ever really need any access to it, but just in case. Your awning on the near side here is an electronic awning. Okay, I'll show you where the switch is for it inside, just next to the control panel. But literally, you just go forward and backwards, and it will just draw the awning out and bring it back in. You will have some legs inside that awning that you can put down, but I can't really show you it on the video. I've only got one hand free, so it's a bit tricky on your own. But yeah, so there's literally a switch there. You haven't got to wind it out or anything. It's literally a switch, so it's very, very easy. The the electronic step, has got its own little switch just inside here. So if I press this lower button, it will draw the step in and out. Nice and straightforward. At the back of the van, we have got, again, really nice and clean. There's no real damage or anything to the paint. It's all looking really nice. Something this sort of special is going to, you're going to want to keep it this way. And I can only imagine that it's going to hold its value very well for the future. Not much to point out on the back, really, apart from the fact that you've got your reversing cameras just there. You've got one straight down facing, one straight back facing, so it's a dual camera. You've got a ladder to get up to the top just here. I'll be honest, we don't really tend to recommend getting up on the roofs of these motorhomes very much. You can, but it's just one of those things that you do at your own risk. They do that, they put these ladders on here mainly because they've got roof bars on them. So if you did want to have some additional storage up on the roof, I suppose you could. Depends how much space is up there really, but anyway, that's just something that they would classically put on there. So on the offside here at the back, we've got your toilet cassette locker. It's the first one we get to. So the actual toilet cassette itself comes out by lifting up on the little green tab here at the bottom, and then you'll be able to pull the cassette out towards you if this bit was plugged in properly. I have to use my other hand as well. I think the flap must be open on the inside. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. The one at the top just here is your flush fluid. So you'll see on the right hand side, you've got a little gauge here, which is basically telling you how much fluid is in the flush system. You will also notice that no matter how low that gauge goes, the fluid inside this little U-bend here will look at the same height. All right, so you need to make sure that you keep the gauge on the right hand side topped up rather than just the fluid inside here. So a lot of the time people will say, oh well, I've got fluid in the flush here, but it's not coming through on the inside, and then when I look at it, it'll be because this one's empty. So because this is just a U-bend, it's always going to have fluid in it no matter what. So keep your eye on this little level here. This is your actual gauge on the right. Let me just literally quickly go inside, see if I can undo that toilet cassette. Yeah, there you go, it's in the open position. So this little flap just here, where it was just then, in this position here to the right, that's the flap in the open position for the toilet, okay? So if you have the flap in the open position, you will not be able to take the cassette out from outside. So you have to make sure that you close that flap back over before you start trying to take it out from outside. So now, hopefully, there you go. So it comes straight out now. So make sure that you have that flap closed before you start trying to take this cassette out. But basically, all you need to know is that you drain the cassette out from here. So you take this cap off and drain it out from there. When you're draining it out, you should hold down this little green button at the back. Blue fluid goes back inside here once you've emptied it out and you want to put it back in. About a cap or two of the blue fluid goes back inside here, and then push it all the way back. And that's it. So the electric hookup goes in just here. As you can see, I've got it plugged in at the moment, just so I can show you a few bits working inside. Just down here, we've got your wastewater drain off point as well. So if you want to drain out your wastewater, you go to this one here, the grey one, and just twist it open. Right, this vent just here is your boiler vent, so you can probably hear it at the moment. I have got it on. So if you wanted to double check that it's definitely working, you can put your hand underneath here and feel the hot air coming through. Your freshwater filling point is this one just here. Okay, so this is your sort of classic Autosleeper, Autocruise filling point. This is a whale water filling point. So essentially what you'll have in the van somewhere, you'll have a bit that plugs into here and then will drop into an external tank so that you can basically draw the water through whenever you want. So there is an onboard tank, but this point just here fills it up from the external tank that you need to have. So it's very, very simple. You literally just plug it in and drop it into the point. You can also get adapters for those so that you can plug it into there and then plug it into a hose if you wanted to. So there's a few ways of doing it, but yeah, I'm sure there's a few bits and pieces in here as well. And just underneath here, we've got a blue drain off handle, which is your freshwater drain off point. So if you wanted to drain out your fresh water, you go from there. Wastewater drain is the one at the back. Right, so in the cab, I'll just jump in the cab quickly. Got a couple of bits to show you. So as I said, you've got the fitted blinds all the way around. All right, so you got blinds on the offside here, on the driver's side window, and the blinds here at the front as well. Okay, so they will come up all the way and close up fully. You've also got your reversing camera, which comes up on that screen just there. So it's kind of like in your eye line, nice and easy to see. You've got a lot of nice extras actually in this cab. So you've got obviously the air conditioning, as I mentioned, on the outside, works from this little button here. Now that's not a standard thing, that's an optional extra, so somebody's gone for that one. You've got the original factory fitted Peugeot head unit here. You can, if you want to, obviously you can replace these for single din head units, but you can actually just take this little thing out here and fit a double one in there if you want to. It's the perfect size for a double din. It's up to you if you want to do that. So you got the heater controls on the left hand side here, and obviously where the fan actually pumps the air to on the right. You've got an ASR switch on there, so that's basically to do with your stability stuff. So you know, if it's icy outside, you want to put the ASR switch on basically. You can unlock and lock the cab from those two buttons just there. You've got your hazard warning lights, fog lamp, and the button there on the left hand side won't do anything at all because the original factory fitted window is not here anymore because it's been converted into a motorhome, so that's not going to do anything at all. You've also got the 6-speed manual gearbox as opposed to the 5-speed, which is always a nice thing. You've got the cruise control from the little one just down there underneath the indicators and lights, so you can literally just use that, turn it on from there, and then adjust the speed really easy. As I say, you've got your lights and indicators from the left hand stalk just here. Washers and wipers are on the right. You've got your steering wheel controls, so you can change the source and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so a super high spec cab, and actually there's not really a lot that you haven't got in here as a, you know, in regards to kind of factory optional extras. On the door you can unlock and lock the cab from here as well. You've got your electric windows, and you've got your electric adjusting mirrors here as well, so you can choose which mirror you want to move by literally just twisting it around and then moving it around like a little joystick, really, just to move the mirrors around. So very easy to use. But as I say, it's super high spec in the cab. I actually didn't realise how good that was until I just sort of started looking through it. So when we get into the actual motorhome side of things itself, there's kind of a couple of things that I'm going to show you first before I get into anything else. So the first thing I'm going to run you through, I'm just going to turn this off quickly. I've just got the heating on. I'll just switch that off now. So in the wardrobe itself, now this obviously isn't the most important thing for you to know straight away, but I am going to show you this first because this is kind of like the heart of the vehicle, if you like. So what you've got in here is a Sargent Power Supply Unit, or what's called a PSU. And essentially what this does is it takes all of the power from your leisure battery, your engine battery, the hookup, basically anything electronic runs to this box, goes through the box, and then goes out to wherever it needs to go to. You've also got your charger inside here as well. So if your electric hookup's plugged in, the charger is inside this box. So if you have the hookup plugged in and this charger switch is on, you will hear a little noise. Just basically, it's just the charger working. So the reason I'm showing you this, because you might be thinking, well, I don't need to know that, but on the left hand side down here, you've got a row of fuses and a row of fuses. Now above each fuse is a number, a ampage size, and a couple of words. So literally it tells you what size fuse it needs to be and what the fuse does. So the reason that's important is because in a motorhome, You know, the majority of things work on 12 volt, and 12 volt things need to have a fuse, essentially. So if you find one day that you come into the van and you can't get any lights to come on, you know, the control panel's coming on and everything else seems to work, but the lights aren't working, you can literally, if you want to, have a little look here and see, look, front lighting, rear lighting, and you can just pop this cover off and check the fuse. You know, if you've got the ability to do that and you wanted to do that, or, you know, if you're away and it's a Sunday or something and we're not open or whatever, then you could get yourself, you know, out of trouble pretty easily. Obviously, we are here for any problems whatsoever. You can come to us for anything at all, but it's just something to know. You know, if you're away and you cannot get to us or somebody, it's pretty straightforward to have a little look for yourself if you want to. So that's your 12 volt fuses just down there. On the right hand side, you've also got your MCBs and your RCDs. So this is your mains powered stuff. And it does tell you down here as well exactly what which one does. So again, for example, let's just say you plug the hookup cable in, but you can't get the charger to come on. You can't get something to work on the charger, or you can't get the fridge to work on the mains. So you'd have a little look in here. You'd see the one that there on the right says fridge and charger, and you would just open this up and make sure it's up, and that's it. Very, very easy. Now that's unusual, you know. If a lot of the time, if you've got a problem with something, it's unusual for it to be as simple a fix than just that. But it's something that you need to know just in case you can get yourself out of jail free, if you like, you know. So there you go. That's your power supply unit in there in the wardrobe. Really easy to get to. That's something that Autosleeper have always done well, is giving you good access to this. A lot of the time you'll find that these power supply units are tucked away under a seat somewhere or whatever. But these are really nice and easily accessible. So enough about that. That is your power supply unit in there. Next thing is your control panel. So the control panel sits up here above the habitation door. This is another Sargent system, so it links up directly to the power supply unit. And essentially what you've got is you've got 4 switches on the left hand side, which are actually sort of telling the vehicle what to do. And then you've got these buttons on the right hand side. So the buttons on the right hand side control what comes up on the screen. So if I just go back to the start, this is your sort of main start screen, if you like. So it tells you what the system is that you're using, what version, the time, and the temperature. Okay, that's the sort of basic home screen. If I flick through, you've got events, you can set alarms, so that's literally timers. Clock, you can change the time on the clock, so that's obviously not correct at the moment, so you can change that if you want to. Water tank fill, so basically if you want to draw the water through the outside from that pump, to be honest, the one that says water tank fill, you don't really have to worry about that, because the next one over, where it says pump select, you'll have the option on there of choosing internal, external, or both. So if you wanted to draw the water through from your external pump, which I said about, the one that you have to plug into the side of the van in order to draw the water through, then all you need to do is either select external pump or external or both. So then when you turn this pump switch here on, the internal pump that actually draws the water through to the tap will come on, but it'll also send some power to that external pump socket, so it will start drawing the water through from the outside as well. So that's kind of how that works. But you know, you've got the option there of either internal, external, or both at the same time. So if I was you, I would just leave it on both, and then every time you use the pump switch there, it will just send power to your internal pump and your external pump, which is fine. Next one over is battery current. So that's just telling you how much power is being drawn from the leisure battery at any one time. So we've got a few lights on in the back of the van at the moment. That's what's drawing that power. Leisure battery is up on 14.2 volts. Now that is a charging battery voltage. That's perfect. And the reason it's up like that is because we've got the electric hookup plugged in. If you didn't have the hookup plugged in, you'd expect to be somewhere around 12.5 volts. That is absolutely perfect for a resting battery rate. If you don't have the hookup plugged in and you've still got all of the power on in the back end of the van, like all of your lights and power for all sorts of things, then you can expect that battery to go down to about 11 volts. When it starts going down towards 10 volts, that means that you need to recharge it. Okay. next one over, I'll just go flick back through. Right, you've then got external temperature, wastewater level, freshwater level, main supply, yes, that's on, vehicle battery voltage and leisure battery voltage. And then back to your home screen. So that's basically just all of the things that you can go through and do on there. Very straightforward. As I said, you've got your water pump switch just there. That will flash at you like this if you haven't got any water in the fresh tank. It's basically just like a safety thing. You can actually go in there and turn it off if you want to, but it's a safety thing because if you turn the water pump on and it runs on and runs on and runs on without you realizing, which it will do if you don't have any water in the fresh tank, then you'll end up burning the pump out. It'll just end up burning itself out and you have to replace it. So that's why they give you that thing there. It will flash at you. If you don't have any water in the tank, it will tell you by doing that. AUX is going to be for any external or any aftermarket fitted items. So you might need the auxiliary power on in order to use the TV. You might not, I don't know. The AUX one is just one of those things that, to be honest, you do tend to find out. You'll work all that sort of stuff out for yourself. You'll find one day you'll think to yourself, oh, I wonder why that's not working. And then you'll think, oh, actually, maybe I need to turn that AUX button on for it. It's a bit of a random one, really. And the last one, actually, this one up the top right-hand side is always a little bit awkward to explain. So hopefully it makes sense in the way that I say it. So essentially, this is your battery selector switch. So what it does is it switches the power. So at the moment, when that light isn't on, when this little switch here is not turned on like it is now, all the power that we draw for the lights and for anything 12 volt is being drawn from the leisure battery, which is exactly what we want. Yeah, so, you know, we don't want all this power from the lights and stuff being drawn from the engine battery for obvious reasons. It'll just go flat and you won't be able to start the van up. Okay, so that's your battery selector. When it's not on, like now, the leisure battery is the one powering the van. If I turn this on, okay, right now, everything that I've got on inside this van, all the lights and anything 12 volt, is now being drawn from the engine battery. So as I said, generally speaking, you don't want to do that. But if your engine battery is flat and you have the electric hookup plugged in, when you switch this button on, you'll see now that vehicle battery 14 volts. So by doing that, by selecting this button on, you also switch the power that the electric hookups charger charges. So basically, we've now got the charger charging up the vehicle battery via the mains cable. So if you wanted to charge up your engine battery from the mains cable, you can turn that button on just there and it will literally start charging the vehicle battery instead. Okay, so that's the only real time that you would ever want to use that switch. If you wanted to charge the engine battery up, if you've got the hookup cable plugged in and you want to charge the engine battery up, then I would understand why you would have this one on here. But for the most part, you don't want that switch on. You want it to be charging up the leisure battery, and you want the leisure battery to be the battery powering the things in the back end. Okay, so that's what that switch is there. Anyway, right, so you've then got the awning switch. So if I press this, if I press out, so push down on it, I won't go too far because I've got another van just here, but that is the basic premise of that. You've literally just got an in and out switch and a couple of legs that will come down from there. Super, super easy. So push up and hold it until it stops. There you go. Easy peasy. Right, so first thing we get to is going to be the sink, obviously. So not much to explain on that. I don't really tend to spend much time on that, apart from the fact that with the motorhome's hot and cold water system, because you've got a boiler that runs on the same system as the rest of it, you need to make sure that the boiler's full before you start trying to heat the water up. So to keep a long story short, the only way that you can do that, the only way that you can check that the boiler's full, is by drawing the water through on the hot side of the tap. So assuming that you've got some water in the fresh tank, which I don't at the moment, what you would do is you would turn the pump switch on, pull the tap to the left hand side, and lift the handle up. And as long as you can get some water coming through nice and clearly through there on the hot side of the tap, and it comes through without coughing and spluttering and getting everything wet, then you can turn the tap off, and that's it. You can know for a fact that the boiler is definitely full of water. If you draw the water through on the hot side of the tap and you just get coughing and spluttering and it's going everywhere and you're not really getting any pressure, then you need to come over here to have a look at something else, which I'll show you in a minute, which is your boiler drain. Okay, so the boiler drain, you might find the boiler drain is open. So that's what you need to do, to just make sure that your water's coming through nice and clearly on the hot side of the tap here, and then you can turn the tap off and get the water hot. All right, that's all. The only thing that I tend to explain really on the sinks. To the left of that, we've got your cooker. So this is a typical range cooker for on these Autosleepers and auto trails and things like that. So you've essentially got on the left hand side, you've got a switch there, which is for your electric ring at the back. So because I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, that is going to work whenever I select a number. Okay, and that's literally just going to get hot. It's simple as that. It will just start getting hot. The rest of them, you've got an ignition switch just here. If I just zoom in a touch, you've got an ignition switch there. So whichever one you want to light up, push in with your ignition switch and it will light up. Same goes for the grill, which is the second one down, and the oven underneath. You've got the grill just here, oven on the right, and the ignition switch here does that for those as well. Simple, nice and easy. I don't tend to spend much time on that either because it's so self-explanatory, very, very straightforward. Only thing I would mention is that if you've had, if you've been cooking with this for a long time or you've been using this for a little while, make sure, please make sure that you allow this to cool down before you put this glass lid down. Okay, so I've only had that on for a few seconds, so that's not what I'm talking about. You can put that down straight away after you've had it on for a few seconds. It's not a problem. But if you've had one of these burners on for 10 minutes or so, or however long to heat something up, it's going to be hot for a little while. And if you put this glass lid straight down, pretty much guarantee that it will shatter and it's just a real mess. So trying to do that, but just a little tip really. Behind me we have got the microwave here. So this is a mains powered appliance, so this will not work unless your mains cable is plugged in. Okay, there's no way around that unless you get an inverter or something, but we don't really endorse those anyway. So that's your microwave oven there. To be honest, it's probably a factory fitted thing. I don't know that for a fact, but it probably is. Underneath that, we've got your three-way fridge. So this is a typical three-way fridge. It's a Thetford three-way fridge. And I've just noticed as well, you've also got a little piece of extendable worktop there as well, just in case you didn't know. So this Thetford three-way fridge, if I just show you how it works, very, very easy, very straightforward. Just zoom in a little bit again. So you've literally got a power switch just here, which will turn on a few lights inside the fridge when you do that. But essentially it will come up with a few options for you. So you've got two buttons either side. You've got this one on the left, which is your energy selector, and this one on your right, which is your temperature selector. So you see when I press on that one, you can see the temperature selector there going up and down. Okay, and when I press on this one on the left, we'll go through the different energies that you've got. So you've got four options on here. You've got auto, which should choose mains. There you go. So that's chosen automatically. It's chosen the mains hookup because we've got the hookup plugged in and because the hookup's the most efficient way to get the fridge cold. If I didn't have the hookup plugged in, but I did have the gas on, it would try and light up on gas and it would light up. And if I didn't have either of those on and the engine was running, it would choose 12 volt, which is the little battery symbol. So the reason I said you've got four options, you've only got three energies, which is the 12 volt, the mains and the gas, but you do have the option there of the auto button, so it will just do it automatically for you if you want to do that. Otherwise, if you want to do it manually, press and hold there and select one of the options yourself. So, as I said, you can use the gas, just literally leave it alone and it will light itself up. So it's just done that there, I just had it light up, perfect. If you've got the electric hookup plugged in, you would use it on the mains. And if you've already pre-cooled the fridge and you want to keep it cold whilst you're driving, you would select the 12 volt. Okay, so the reason it's giving us a little fault code here is because the engine isn't running, and so it hasn't got the power to use on the 12 volt. As soon as you start the engine up, that fault code will go away and it will start cooling down via the mains, via the 12 volt, sorry. So this literally takes power from the alternator to work, so it won't do anything until the engine's on, but you have to pre-cool the fridge before you leave anyway, so you have to make sure it's cold before you start heading off and switching over to 12 volt. Right, so that is the three-way fridge, nice and straightforward. The only other appliance that I need to run you through is the boiler. So you've got what's called a Combi E, which basically means that you've got what Truma call their Combi boiler, which means that it does the heating and the hot water. But you've also got the E version, which is the one that has the option of working on the mains as well. So on the left-hand side, we've got the one that says Combi E. So that is the one that's going to be choosing the energy for the boiler to work on. So you've got where it is at the moment in the middle, that is your gas only option. You've got up 1 or 2, which is electric only. So you've got 4 amps or 8 amps of electric, and that is literally just electric only. Or you've got down 1 or down 2, which is your gas and electric at the same time. So as I say, it's gas and electric on 4 or 8 amps. Okay. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it in the middle on gas only. And then on the right hand side, we've got the actual selector for the boiler. So that's what sort of tells the boiler what to actually do. So if I go down once, we'll be using the heating only. Okay, so this little first one here is heating only. If I go down twice, we've got heating and hot water at the same time. And if I go up once or up twice, we've got hot water only. Okay, so super easy. You've literally got hot water only going up, heating only once down, heating and hot water at the same time all the way at the bottom. Now to make it a little bit easier, a previous owner has left this little diagram inside here. So it says power selector switch, and it basically just tells you exactly what I've just told you there. It's, you know, is what it is, really. So yeah, it's literally just going to tell you there exactly what each switch does. So you can have a little look at that if you forget what I was just saying there, or if I didn't make any sense at all. You can have a little look at that if you want to. I think the last thing to show you is going to be the bathroom. I feel it's a bit of a long video, so apologies for that, but we'll just show you in here as well. Again, bathrooms is a little bit one of those things that I don't tend to spend much time on because they're just very simple. But basically, you've got a hot and cold tap in there for the sink. You'll notice that you don't have a drain hole in the sink, and the reason for that is the drain is actually down the back here. So all you need to do when you finish using the sink, you just slowly lift it up and pour the water down the back, and it will drain down into the waste tank. So don't worry about that. You're not doing anything wrong by doing that. That's exactly how you need to use it. Shower is literally a hot and cold tap just there, and then obviously a shower head. And the toilet is as easy as this. So you press the blue button here on the left hand side to pump around the fluid, and then you pull the handle here towards you to drain it into the cassette. As I mentioned on the outside, you do have to make sure that you push that back to close it off before you can take the cassette back out on the outside. And that is about it for the bathroom. So I'm just going to close that little skylight down. Right, so the very last thing I'm going to show you, just before I forget, is going to be where the boiler drain is. So the boiler drain is pretty important, really, because it means that, well, especially in this case, because you've got an automatic drain off valve. So if it gets down to, you know, if you leave the van outside and it gets down to like 4 or 5 degrees, you might find the boiler will drain itself out from its water to save it from frosting up. So it's a frost controller, basically. It's a frost damage thing. So it's as easy as this. When you lift up this bit just here, you get some access down here. So you've got your leisure battery down here inside this box. You've got some gas isolator taps over here as well. So if I just tell you which ones are which. So you've got the fridge at the top, the boiler in the middle, and your cooker on the bottom. And they're all in the on position at the moment. But if you needed to isolate the gas from any of those appliances specifically, you can do that just by twisting them 90 degrees. But the boiler drain is this little box over here on the right hand side with the blue tab on top. And so basically, to drain the boiler out from its water, you just twist the valve at the top. When you twist that valve on the top, there'll be a little blue button that will pop its way out at the bottom down there. You can't quite see it on the video, but you will see it in person. So it will pop the little blue button out, and that little blue button being popped out is what actually drains the water out from the boiler. And so that's what you need to do. If you want to drain the boiler out, you twist that valve so that it pops the little blue button out. If you want to close the valve back off so you can fill it back up again, you need to twist the valve back to where it is now on the top and push the little blue button back in. But yeah, it probably sounds more difficult than it actually is. Once you've done it a couple of times, it's easy peasy, nothing to it. So again, apologies, it's been quite a long video, but there's quite a lot of stuff to show you in here, really. So I'll leave it at that. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.